Welcome to another episode of OG55. I am joined by the one, the only Slime Square. We are talking about Zoo Better Together. We're talking about Zootopia in general as a franchise and what the future of this franchise might be in the Disney parks. We're also going to talk about Bluey, Big Dog, coming to Walt Disney World and Disneyland up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to the episode of OG55. We are talking all about Bluey. We're talking Zootopia. Before we dive right in, Mr. Slime Square, welcome back. How you doing? How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's how was your Thanksgiving? I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you face to face since Thanksgiving, so let's
Yeah,
start with that. How was your Thanksgiving?
it was really good. It was really good. Spent it with the fam, and really low key, kind of chill. But watched a little bit about the Macy's parade and some YouTube. Really nice day. How about you?
Nice. No, it was good. Same thing. We didn't watch the Macy's parade. We watched other things, but did you have a favorite float?
Oh, well, actually, no, I didn't have a favorite float, but I love that performance, the K-pop Demon Her song. That golden song is a banger. That was my jam. So
I caught that clip. Yeah, that was a banger. But glad you had to go. And everybody watching, hope you guys had a nice Thanksgiving. As far as we can find me, you can find me on all social medias at Slime Square 84.
there he is. All right, so let's dive right into this Slime Square Slimer. Let's do this. We got Bluey, and Bingo coming to Disney experiences around the world. This dropped today. The wait is almost over. Bluey and Bingo are on their way. Soon, guests will have a chance to step into the playful world of Bluey at the Disneyland Resort, Walt Disney World, and aboard select Disney cruise lines. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So it says here that in Disneyland, it's going to premiere on March 22nd over there at the Fantasyland Theater. And then it's also coming to Animal Kingdom. It says here, beginning in 2026, summer of 2026 at Disney World, you'll be able to take a fun excursion to Conservation Station at Animal Kingdom, where you can play and dance with Bluey and Bingo, play some of your favorite games from Bluey episodes with some fun animal twists like Butterfly Keepy Uppy. Okay. Grab the whole family and snap some pictures alongside your Blue Healer pals to remember this one of a kind adventure. Okay, so Slimer, this is interesting, right? Like when it comes to Animal Kingdom, like the go-to, like for me, I feel like the go-to would have been like Hollywood Studios,
Hmm.
but they're doing Animal Kingdom, right? And I get it,
Yeah.
dogs, all right, and they're animals, technically, but I don't know. I feel like there's a little something to this. But what do you think? What's your take on like where they're putting it and the whole thing?
Yeah. Hey, look, this is part of Disney's grand plan to bring Animal Kingdom into the 2020s, right? Animal Kingdom is, even though they have had the Pandora upgrade, they really haven't had much outside of that in like the last 10 years or plus. And so this is part of them injecting some successful, like bulletproof ideas into the park. Because, they have experimented with some things. They had the kites, they've had some other things, Dinoland USA, which in my opinion was, of course, a low ball budget, which it was a bigger idea that ended up being low ball due to budget cuts. So Pandora had, or Animal Kingdom really hasn't had the opportunity, in my opinion, to get a lot of like really good ideas injected into it and make it a full-fledged park. I mean, it's got what, a handful of actual attractions that you can do. So I mean, if you're really interested in animals, it works for you. But if you're a person that's trying to, ride rides and go see the animals, I mean, the park is kind of a half baked park. But you actually went last year and you loved it.
I I,
So
I
you
loved it.
get a little
Yeah.
bit of a different take.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a vibes guy. Like I love like when I go to theme parks, I love the vibes. I'm not like super like I will go on rides. I did go on Everest. It was a really good ride. But for me, I love the atmosphere and just soaking that in. I'm really vibey like that. So for like Animal Kingdom is all vibes mostly.
Yeah.
It's you go in there and it's a vibe from like start to finish. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great little park. But you brought up a great point the other day when we were talking about how you said it's kind of an outdated park though. And I agree with you
Mhm.
on that. As much as I love it, it feels very much trapped in that 90s Michael Eisner era.
Yeah.
It's not it needs some modernization to it, and I do believe
Mhm.
Disney's moving in that direction with it eventually. We're getting Indiana Jones and we're getting the Encanto attraction. I think it's gonna be a banger. I think that's gonna be awesome. Likely gonna be some sort of like next gen, Mystic Manor or what have you. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, Animal Kingdom it needs to kind of come into the modern era a little more, and that's why
Mhm.
full circle. I think they're bringing Bluey because I do think that the normies, the soccer moms, they're not vibe guys like me as much. They go for like when you bring your family, you're gonna go on the rides, you're gonna want to do that stuff, and I feel like it's low on that stuff. And right now, it's kind of even worse because like that whole area where they're building the tropical Americas is a
Right.
construction site. So they're gonna have to infuse some kind of excitement in here, and what better way to do it with Bluey? This is like Elvis walking in the room, so it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, Elvis is going to enter the building starting next year. First at Disneyland, and then at Animal Kingdom. But yeah, when Bluey comes into the park, so for my park, for Animal Kingdom here on the East Coast, he's going to be coming to the conservation station. Which, if you guys know, or if you don't know, you have to you have to ride the Wildlife Express train to get there, and that's a little one-way facing train. You face a berm the entire way you're going there. It's a really uneventful thing, and it's going to be going to the conservation station, which is where you have a little opportunity to learn how to do animation of like animal Disney animal IPs. They have some reptiles there. They have a goat petting area, but it's all very Eisner era. Like once you get off the train, it's like going back into 1999, 2000. And so if you're coming from like Pandora, or if you're coming from Everest and you enter this part of the park, it can be a little bit underwhelming. So putting Bluey here makes absolute total perfect sense. Now, with them introducing Bluey into the conservation, it also begs the question like, what do you do? Because getting there is no easy task. Boarding happens like I want to say like every 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes,
Yeah,
and there's a wait. And so like, how are they going to manage the crowds? Is it going to get to the point where like you have to, are they going to have a reservation? I don't know. Like Bluey's really popular, so they can handle all of that. Obviously, the logistics got to be worked out, but that kind of makes sense as far as where they're going to put them, because it is like the least visited place in the park. I mean, I'll be honest. For the longest time, I never went to Conservation Station. Never seemed like something
wow,
that was appealing to me. But yeah, for families, this is going to be a must do, and it's on a low traffic part of the park, so
yeah.
makes total sense.
Now the train, I was blown away. That was one thing too. When I went to Animal Kingdom, and I was like, wait, this place has a train too.
Yeah,
And the cool thing about this train that takes you to this conservation station is it's like if you took the Jungle Cruise and the Disneyland Railroad and just like, it
yeah,
would be this train. It's really dope. It's really really sick. Now this train, the only purpose is to go to this conservation area, right? If I'm not mistaken, this goes
yeah.
from.
That's the only purpose.
That's wild. See that's the thing too. It's almost like like the train is cooler than the destination. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
It depends on how fast the train is going too. I mean, when we rode it the other day, it went 1 mile per hour in one direction, and everybody was like, "Man, does this thing go any slower?" Or the anticipation is killing me. There was a lot of snide comments about it. Yeah, I think that this is one of those attractions, OG. Like, it's very late '90s. Like, it's very much around the same mindset of people who were like thinking about edutainment, and like just this. It's not in line with where I think the Disney and Universal Studios, for that matter, are taking the parks. And so while I see the, like, I can agree with somebody that's like, well, this is part of Animal Kingdom and the original concept and all that. Like, I get what you're saying, but it it doesn't really do it. It didn't do it for me, and it didn't do it for a lot of people that I think were riding there for the first time. And I can see why they're putting Bluey here. So if they're having to put the strongest animated character as a draw to this part of a park, like there's
Yeah.
a reason why. Yeah.
There's a reason why. Now, do you think that this is where it gets a little complicated because usually Disney will beta test with meet and greets. And what I mean by that is like, you'll have like for example, we had a lot of like Marvel stuff in
Mm.
like the Hollywood land area, which is like not too far from where they built Avengers Campus. Or they'll
Yeah.
have like Buzz Lightyear hanging around Tomorrowland and then kind of test out how he does in Tomorrowland. And then if he's popular, then we'll get Astro Blasters and things like that. They
Right.
kind of beta test these things through these meet and greets.
Right.
Is it possible that Disney is sort of testing this for maybe a Bluey like permanent experience to replace
Mm.
Rafiki's, right? Because
Yeah.
that would be the smart money. But here's the thing, though, it's a little complicated because Bluey isn't a Disney property. It's Disney licenses it out, and it's like an Australian studio that makes it. So I don't even know
Right.
if they could do that. But I mean, do you think that that's the play here, or is this more of like a short term, short sighted thing where it's like, you know what, we just need to bolster the numbers here. Let's just put this guy in here.
That is, hey man, if they're planning this out by doing some beta testing with the characters, OG, that's some 4D chess that Disney's playing, because they might be testing out characters, but it might be part of a bigger plan to expand Animal Kingdom out into like Australia,
Mm, that's interesting. That is very,
right?
very interesting. Okay.
Right. The whole, like, yeah, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, there's a lot that they can play with there. They can actually expand on the original mission statement of Animal Kingdom, bring in the koalas, the kangaroos, all the marsupials that make Australia popular. Man, there's just a whole lot they can do, and they have a lot of land to play with too. I was telling you the other day that I think that when it comes to the Wildlife Express, it takes up so much space. Like, you could, I mean, there's a lot of back roads, right? So obviously they would have to reroute some backstage area, but they could do an Australia, and they could also bring in the Lion King animal ride in the Harambe area at the same time, like in the same area, because it's so big, So
Right.
yeah, I think this is short term. I think that they're testing Bluey. They want to see how people react to him in the parks. And this is going to give them some necessary data to see how they want to move forward, not just with Bluey as a character, but how they want to move forward with expanding Animal Kingdom beyond the tropical Americas, because it's going to happen. They're not going to just stop with this.
No, no, they can't. And this is yet another win for Josh Duhamel. Josh
Mhm.
has shown that he has been able to. He's kind of clocked win after win after win, right? Between the
Right.
Abu Dhabi announcement, which Wall Street loved that, and really is a smart move even for fans because they can R&D a lot of stuff with an unlimited budget over there, and then bring it over here to the States. So he was mostly applauded for that. But he's clocked a lot of wins, and this is one more thing under his umbrella, and it's looking like it's going to be Josh. But I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is huge news, absolutely huge news. So we'll see.
And
Now oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the fact, and I just kind of want to caveat on what you're saying, and the fact that he's tied in the licensing agreement, not just to the domestic parks, but to the cruise line.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's
this guy knows how to make it rain money.
he really does. He really,
Yeah.
really does. I'm very curious what a Josh Giamaro led Disney kind of comes about because these guys and gals, whether it's no matter who it is, with these executives, they know how to play the game when they're working for somebody else, right? So when Bob Iger was the president and Eisner was his boss, Bob Iger played ball with Michael Eisner
Mhm.
because that was his boss. He's trying to move up. But when Bob Iger became CEO, he came into his own style of management, his own direction and vibe. I think we're going to see something similar with Josh tomorrow. I do. I think right now he's playing ball because he's answering to Iger. But I do think when he becomes that guy, I think he's gonna. I think we're gonna see a much different Josh. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how it goes. I get the feeling he does have vision, which is good.
Mhm.
I know he talked a lot today about there was some article today he wants to incorporate video games and stuff like that more into the Disney sphere, and that's interesting. You know, we'll see how that works out. Disney doesn't have the greatest track record with that stuff, but Fortnite is, I mean, that's huge though. But so we'll see. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, this is one more thing that he can kind of tout as a win for him, and because it was looking kind of iffy for a while. I mean, I remember hearing about this at D23 back in
Mhm.
August of 2024, and nothing's really happened with it. So a
Right.
lot of people thought like that, that maybe the deal fell through or something, and it didn't. And here we are. So
And let me tell you, as you know, as being the head of any department, like you have to be able to show that you're worth your medal in improving things like attendance in some of your more lower attended parks. And so this is just a proof of concept. Like if you can increase attendance in one of your own domestic parks in the most touristed city in the world, like I'm going to question your ability as a CEO. And so it's indicative that he knows what he's doing by introducing Bluey into Animal Kingdom. I feel like that's a very important distinction here.
yeah,
Like they didn't introduce in Hollywood Studios, but he put in Animal Kingdom, right? So because that's their lost leader when it comes to attendance, and he's putting it in the weakest attended part of the park. So these are good decisions. They're in line with what he needs to do with Animal Kingdom, which is to bring up the numbers because the numbers have been going down. And yeah, I mean, like this is what I want to see.
yeah,
Now, when it comes to Zootopia Better Do Together, which
yes,
is another thing we want to talk about today. I had an opportunity to go see that this weekend. My wife and I went to go see. We had a nice time at Animal Kingdom. We like Animal Kingdom. I love Animal Kingdom. Like you said, it's definitely a vibes park. Everest for me is one of my favorite rides. I always get a drink right outside of the bar there. We like to do as much as we can when we're there, which I can't say about a lot of the other parks. Like a lot of the other parks, I'm very picky and choosy about what it is that I want to do. But Animal Kingdom is one where like you can pretty much do everything and be pretty satisfied. But Zootopia, better do together. I'm gonna agree with the majority of the people out there. OG, it's a chaotic attraction that was made for uh your kids that are like under 10 years old, and so it's not for me. Like it's uh it's obviously not made for my demographic, so I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to sit here on my soapbox and say, well, it sucks. I think I was really harsh at first. Like, I was like, well, I think I might have said something along the lines of like um just poor quality or something like that. But it's very mid. Like it was a C plus. Like if I had
yeah,
to give it a letter grade, I'd probably give it a C plus. But again, it's not for me. Now that's not to say they could have maybe done a better job with the story, and maybe didn't have to give it as many animatronics compared to what was in there with tough what is that, tough to be a bug, but it's
yeah,
Utopia. So
yeah.
I'm not really going to harp on it that much.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. And we were talking, or you sent me a message, and you were saying it's very chaotic. I get that vibe watching it. This is actually something that's kind of frustrated me with a lot of animation in general, not just this particular attraction, but I feel like a lot of these animation studios feel like we got to throw something at the audience every 5 seconds, or they're going to get bored. You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like this attraction feels like a product of that mentality, where
Hmm.
it's like we have to just constantly like, and actually that was actually something that Katzenberg, Katzenberg wanted to cut part of your world out of Little Mermaid because he thought that that song was too long and kids were going to get irritable in their seats and they
That's
weren't going to sit
crazy.
through it. I know, and thank goodness, clearer heads prevailed on that one. But
Yeah.
like, but that's the issue though. I think there's not enough like people in the room now to tell these executives or these creatives like, hey, no, we can slow it down a little bit. It's okay, and
Mhm.
kids are going to be okay with that. They just throw everything at you, and I think you lose impact when you do that. But again, like you were saying, Slimer, it's really not for us. It's not our
Yeah.
demographic. These are for the kiddos. And you were saying too, I believe you said that the kiddos were having a good time in there. So
Oh yeah, like it's funny because when you're there, the majority of the people are having a great time. When the 40 special effects start happening and the wind's blowing in their face, or there's a scene where the rats are crawling underneath the seats, which is a carryover from the prior attraction. everybody's giggling, everybody's having a good time. There was even an applause at the end. I mean, so your normies, they're gonna have a good time. That's all that really matters. It's a place for them to go see their favorite characters. Their kids have a laugh. They get out of the heat, and they're out in 5 minutes. So, could the Imagineers done better? I'm sure they could have. I think, like you said, that there was a little bit of pressure there to make this as fast paced as possible, considering that the tablet and iPhone generation Alpha
Yeah.
has the attention span of a goldfish, and they can't even sit through a movie, or much less a 2 hour movie or a 3 hour movie, which that's the theater discussion, and that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I mean, like, you had to make something that was quick, uh, that made use of the special effects that were there, that was memorable, and I mean, made memorable in the sense of, like, it's made with your favorite IPs from this Zootopia IP, which is now a mega monolith in terms of money making production. But yeah, it was I don't know. I don't know what people expect out of a Zootopia 4D show. So uh,
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. It was an interesting decision to say the least. Do you feel like I'm kind of curious about this, Dick? Do you feel like this sort of signals Disney's mindset when it comes to the Tree of Life as more of a flex space? Like, do you feel like Zootopia is something that's going to be here for 3 or 4 years, and then they'll put something else in there? Like, I think when it came to Bug's Life, it was kind of put in there with the idea this is the thing that's going to be in there forever.
yeah.
Do you feel like with Zootopia, they're sort of signaling like, hey, you know what? We might switch this out every few years now, like more flex style.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Imagineers and the operations are getting together and the saying, like, what can we put in here for the next 5 years, but that if we wanted to upgrade it, it would cost us, it'd be minimal investment to upgrade it, or if we wanted to change it, it would be minimal investment as well. There's to me, it seems like a flex space now, and a flex space, or an upgrade space. So based off of how Zootopia 2, because remember, they built this before Zootopia 2 came out.
Right.
So now we know that it's a $540 million opening weekend, one of the biggest box office weekends of all time.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very probable this is going to stay Zootopia for a while, but it can also be upgraded with low investment as well. But I don't think that they went in with that mindset of expanding or keeping Zootopia there. I think they wanted to keep it as a flex space.
Yeah, no, also another thing too is like because of this massive weekend that Zootopia 2 had, I think that this changes the dynamics for so many projects and
Oh
like
yeah,
priorities for Disney now, you know?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I know they've been kind of thinking about Zootopia at DCA just because I like they beta test this stuff, and we've had Zootopia meet and greets at DCA for years. So
yeah,
I know they're at least kind of like kicking the tires on that idea, and it's probably now going to happen because of this
yeah,
weekend. But even in Florida, I mean, I know you guys just got the 3D show, but I'm certain with this weekend there's going to be a significant. You will likely get the land as well, maybe in Hollywood Studios, or something like that. But I mean, I think this franchise is going to have a huge future. It's going to be like it's another Frozen. It really
yeah.
is in a lot of ways.
I agree, and I think that what is really indicative of that is the fact that this came from left field. That, I mean, this box office success, but it was a clear message to Disney, like, hey, we want animation, like, this is what we want. And for me, it's also rejection of the live action stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean, even the Moana trailer was received with mixed, lucrative, or lukewarm feedback, right? And you're talking about one of the most popular princesses that have been ever created. You're talking about the most successful Disney animation on Disney Plus. And what was the response?
Eh,
More live action remakes. Zootopia 2 comes out and it makes $540 million in the opening weekend. So Disney has received a mandate, in my opinion. And what they should do is they should double down the resources in storytelling and animation on just that
yeah,
animation moving forward. Close the live action stuff down. Like, no resources and money needs to be wasted on that anymore. People want classic Disney animated storytelling. And now, like you said, they are going to be moving Zootopia Like this is a priority for the company now.
Oh
So
yeah.
whatever ideas they've had for Zootopia lands, that's already greenlit. I mean, this movie's gonna hit 800 million. I don't think it hit a billion this weekend, but I think it'll cross 750 million, and it's gonna hit a billion in week 3.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I knew it was going to be big because the first one made a billion, but
Yeah,
I was not expecting this. I was
yeah,
not
no.
expecting this. I mean, this
I don't
is
think I don't think Disney was too. I mean, Disney Animation, they even put a post on X like, "Thank you so much for making this possible." So like, they didn't know it was going to be this big. They were just thinking, okay, we're. I mean, especially off of a couple of losses. I mean, this we're in the 2026 fiscal year now, so this doesn't go towards 2025 fiscal year, but 2025 was a box office negative. They were in the red for 2025, so they're going in strong, which is good. They have a lot of momentum going in. Now they got Avatar coming out. What is it, this weekend?
yeah, I think so, right? Yeah.
Is it this weekend?
I think
Yeah,
it's this
because I
weekend. Yeah, I think so.
yeah. So they have Zootopia, and they had Predator last. Was it last weekend or the weekend before last?
Yeah, Badlands.
Yeah,
Badlands.
dude. So Disney's coming in like shit hot. So
Hell yeah, dude.
so they're coming in shit hot, which they need because last year was bad.
Yeah.
And it's bad, and it was spelled bad news for Alan Bergman because Bergman, he's been having good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good, like very hit and miss.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been hit or miss. Yeah. I think he's pretty low on the totem pole when it comes to his chances, I think, at this point with to become the next CEO. Um, I think he's kind of. I mean, they might make him like maybe they'll make him like a president or something like that, But in terms of the top job, he's probably not going to get it. He also lacks the charisma I think you need to be a Disney CEO. And I
Yeah.
think Disney's kind of learned their lesson with Chapek with that. Bergman seems very much like an executive and not really much of a people person. From what I've seen, at least, he's kind of like this mild, quiet guy. But
Mhm.
who knows? Disney loves to throw curveballs. Who knows? Watch, I say this, and then tomorrow he'll be the guy they announce. So you never know.
Dude, the last one they made a quiet, mild guy the CEO of the company. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You never know. Disney loves to throw curveballs. But yeah, Zootopia is changing the game, man. It's changing the game. Now, I don't think it's gonna go. I don't think they're gonna build that Zootopia land in Animal Kingdom though. And the reason why is I think because Joe Rohde, he's not like full time at Imagineering, but I do believe he is right now, was like a consultant or something. He's like advising. He's on the payroll, but he's not like in every day in the office. I think kind of like that kind of role.
Mhm.
I just think with Rhodey involved in any capacity, I from what I'm hearing, Rhodey doesn't want that franchise in this park. Like in the tree is one thing, but to build a whole land like the city and stuff, I just think he would really push back on that. So I'd probably go Hollywood Studios. Go ahead.
he would. And now let's talk about that for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if we give Joe Rohde too much leverage, then it's no different than making the argument that the park should stay a museum,
Oh, that's true.
right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Then you're over leveraging like what exists, what's already there, and you're saying, well, we can't change it because of this person, right? Which is
Right.
true. Like I do believe Joe Rohde can say that. I believe that as long as he's associated with the Disney company and offering his knowledge and his resources to the new Imagineers, that he's going to have a say in what goes in Animal Kingdom and what doesn't. And I believe that Zootopia was a compromise. I'm pretty sure, like
Oh yeah.
he did not want that in there, and I think he even came out and made a public statement like that he liked it or Zootopia, whatever. Like they told him so, like, hey Joe, like please make a public statement so that the Zootopia is a fun attraction, so that way people can get off our backs about this and we can move
Yeah.
forward. But I do think that there's gonna be a time when Joe Rohde is permanently retired and they're gonna decide where Zootopia goes.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a great point though. That's a great point that you bring up because also Animal Kingdom, this park is gonna have to evolve.
Right.
I mean, the conservation themes and all that stuff are really cool, and I think us nerds love that kind of stuff. But I think if Disney wants to compete seriously with Universal, I mean, you have a park down the street with Epic Universe that's they got Super Nintendo, right? Like Mario Brothers and things like that. I mean, Harry Potter. I mean, they're going to want this park to be competitive.
Right.
And it's going to be hard to be competitive if you have people that like, and I love Rhodey, but I mean, if you have people that are sort of like holding it back from its full potential with the normie market,
Right.
and too focused on like, you know, the purity of it all.
Right.
And I think that yeah, like you were saying, you get into the museum argument, and you get into like, you know, like yeah, it's tough, man.
The
It's
mission
tough.
statement, you know, the mission statement argument, you know, that people make for Epcot or that
Yeah,
people make for Universal Studios or Hollywood Studios. You know, they then what ends up happening is you end up in this place where you're trying to convince, you know, the people shaking their fists at the sky. And
right,
you like as a company, you're not obligated to those people. You're
right.
really not. Like when you're looking at when you're looking at who's spending money at your parks, they're not the people that are spending money at your parks. I mean, they are a contributor, right? But they are not your number one demographic.
Oh no,
They're
well said.
they're your critics.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It was a real eye opener for me. A couple years ago when I went to Florida, we did the cruise as well. We did the Disney Wish, right? And I'm telling you, it's funny because we're in this community like deep, right? We're on
Mhm.
X, we're on Instagram, we're on all, you know, the YouTubes, all that stuff. So it's like we see the our like diehard fandom debating and talking about this stuff all the time. And Marvel's a big topic with our park community, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
fans don't even think Marvel belongs in the parks. It's not really Disney, you know. It was an acquired thing that it doesn't belong in the parks.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because we go on the Wish, and one of the restaurants on the Wish is this Marvel restaurant.
Right.
And Slimer, I'm telling you, bro, we're sitting there, and Spider-Man walks in, and it was pandemonium with the normies. They were like climbing over each other to get to this guy. Okay, I mean it was nuts. And I turned I turned to Dre, and I'm like, dude, like this is seriously like this is the normie diehard gap here. You
Mhm.
go on YouTube, you go on X, you go on these, you know, and the diehards are like, no, man, we don't want that in our parks, blah, blah, blah. The normie, the soccer mom, you know, with the 4 kids, they want it. They want the
Yeah.
Spider-Man thing. They want Elsa, Anna and Elsa. They want Nick and Judy. They want all these IPs. The diehards are different, you know. The diehards want Western River Expedition. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's just a different mindset. But you're right. You have to with Animal Kingdom. You're gonna have to play to the soccer mom crowd. That's the masses. That's who's really the bread and butter, not the small little group of nerds like us. You know,
Yeah.
and
I
we're
agree.
self aware. We see that, but you know,
Yeah. Not a lot of people are. You know, and you know, for those that aren't, I'm just going to make the argument that you know, you have to put the business goggles on.
yeah,
Like the people are making these decisions, they're wearing business goggles, right? Whoever said that Marvel doesn't belong in the theme parks, you wouldn't be an executive at Disney. You wouldn't be an executive at Universal. You'd be fired if
yeah.
you were to say, "Hey, you know what? I don't believe a 32, however many billions of dollars with a B, property doesn't belong in a theme park." You get left. You get laughed out of the room.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, even from a creative perspective, right? Like when you look at Marvel in particular, Marvel is the modern version, so to speak, of the heroes of Walt's era.
Right.
You know, the Davy Crockett's, you know, the Zorros, right?
Hmm.
You know, the John Waynes. You know, those were the icons that kids looked up to in the 50s, the
Hmm.
boomers, right?
Hmm.
You fast forward now to 2025, 2026, and they look up to who? Like Spider-Man, Iron Man, you know, Captain America, you know, or Superman, you know, like I mean, Batman, like, you know, it's kind of like the same but different. Like
Right.
it's the cowboy thing, right? The hero thing, but it just takes a different form. And that's why I feel like Marvel fits very well into the Disney kind of fabric because it is very much a modern version of those classic cowboys and all that the boomers loved in Walt's era. It's not the same, but it's similar though in idea, in concept, you know. And so it's kind of interesting. That's why I've always believed that Marvel belongs with Disney because it has that. It's like that Zorro kind of thing, and it's also the boy answer to the Disney princess in a lot of
Which
ways.
is super important moving
Very
forward.
much so. Very
Very
much.
much so important for Disney as a company because Universal Studios realizes and they know their demographic is primarily boys,
Right.
right? I mean, dinosaurs, Transformers, cars, cars in the form of Fast and the Furious, Halloween Horror Nights, which is, I would say, primarily men that watch horror. I mean, men drag their women into horror movies, right? Or watching horror movies, right? But Universal is primarily a boy demographic. And so, like, you're going to want to stave off any more encroachment into that market territory that Universal Studios is reaching for. And now they're doing it now with the animation, right? So
Yep.
you're gonna want to protect as much of your market share as possible if you're Disney, which means you're not going to triple and quadruple down on the princesses. You got the princesses.
Yeah.
Now you need to make sure you got the boys too, right? And so it's going to be real important for Spider-Man and Captain America and Indiana Jones for the older boys,
Yeah.
right? Because it's important to maintain your 40 plus us, right? It's going to be important to keep us there because if we're not spending our money at Disney, we're spending at Universal Studios, right? And so that's why it's real important for Indiana Jones to come to the parks, right next to a princess, right? So
Yeah.
they, going back to Josh, they know what they're doing. Um, and when it comes to the Marvel characters, this is another thing I kind of want to like just clarify. Like Marvel characters are not new. Like these guys have been around since the 60s.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's nothing more classic Americana than Marvel superheroes. And these were characters that existed at the same time that Walt was around.
It's true.
And I'm pretty sure, I mean, if he had the ability to have Spider-Man and all this, Stanley's characters in his parks, I'm pretty sure he would.
No, 100%, 100%. And yeah, so it's fascinating. It's interesting how, yeah, that normie diehard gap is real. It's a big thing. So, to go full circle, yeah, Rhodey, love him. He's an absolute Disney legend, but eventually you're right. The park is gonna have to move beyond the mission statement and kind of evolve. I mean, I even remember Slimer, like when they announced Pandora. Like fans were like, I don't know about this. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
kind of iffy even when they announced. Now it's become part of the park and people have embraced it 1,000%.
It's the best
But
part of the park. I mean, I love the animals. I'm not trying to take away from the animals, so for my conservationists out there, like I get it. I used to live 7 miles away from Busch Gardens growing up as a kid, and we used to have annual passes. I used to go to Busch Gardens after school. We used to, go to Lard Park Zoo. I got 3 dogs. All right. I'm an animal lover. But at the same time, though, you're running a business and you have to bring this park up to date. Animal Kingdom is very much, it's funny because a lot of people don't talk about Animal Kingdom, but it's the park that probably, because it goes overlooked so much, people don't talk about it. But it's the one that really needs some TLC in terms of modernization because it's been treated so like reverentially, because Joe Rody was in charge of it. And I feel like a lot of that reverence has really set the park back and has put in a lot of ways the same place that like DCA is in a lot of
yeah,
ways, but it's not talked about as much.
no, yeah, you're 100% right on that. And this is where Universal has an advantage because Disney, the gift and the curse for Disney is that reference, is
Mhm.
that deep emotional bond that people have with it. It's a great thing. It's Disney's bread and butter. At the same time, it's Disney's biggest ball and chain too.
Seriously.
You know what I'm saying? And like Universal, I mean, they have a little bit of that, but not like Disney. And so Universal has the freedom to sort of play a little more. They
Hmm.
can mess around with their parks a little more and kind of have fun with it. And it kind of shows. And Disney is really they're really they're really held back. I mean, even with the American parks, look what they're doing over there in Tokyo. They leveled, they completely destroyed their Space Mountain in Tokyo, and they're
Hmm.
rebuilding it, and it looks badass, dude. Like
Dude, super, super badass.
it looks crazy cool, right? But you
Yeah.
could never do that here at Disneyland or in Florida at Walt Disney World. The fans would go nuts.
And it's crazy, right? Because I would love for whatever they're building over there to come to mine. Like
Yeah,
I would love for it to be right next to the Tron cycle. And nothing about it, there's not a whole lot about it that doesn't make sense not to. Like when you
yeah,
look at it from an aesthetic perspective, how old the track system is. I mean, Space Mountain is what, 1971? We have the older one. Yours was built in 77.
yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. Like, how long are we going to keep this? And then a lot of people would say, well, you could just take the track out and put a new track on. But are you really though? Like,
Yeah.
are we really going to do that? I mean, this building, I'm sure, has asbestos in it. I mean, come on, let's get real.
Let's get real.
The fact that it's a discussion is wild to me. Where in Tokyo, they're just like, let's level this and let's build something state of the art, and everybody's like, fuck yeah, let's go. And it looked great. It looks great.
It looks awesome. Exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that I would love for them to have a little more freedom out here to do that. But Disney, I think, holds back because they're like, oh, I can't do that. The fans are going to go crazy. It's like, but we miss out on some really cool, innovative stuff because of that, I think, sometimes.
I agree. And that's why you can't give the critics concessions.
Yeah.
Like, because the more you give it to them, the more they're going to demand it because they expect it. And so, like, when you concede, we shouldn't put this in this park, put in that park. Like, you're conceding to the gatekeepers, and they're your consumers. And yeah, I get it. Like, they're the ones that make your company possible, but they're not, they're the exception, not the rule. They're not the ones that are paying the bills. They are part of a pie. They're not the whole pie itself. And I think a lot of times these critics think that they're the entire pie. They're the only people in the room. They're the only voice that's speaking. But you're right. That normie gap, it does exist. And I encourage anybody, like, just go to the parks and open your eyes and see it, man. Like, you see it on a day-to-day basis
Yeah.
when you're there.
Yeah.
But
It's absolutely wild to watch it, in real time. You step out of the Disneyverse, the Disney diehard nerdverse, and then you go into the park and you see like just normies, and the normies' reaction to stuff is just completely different than what I literally just saw online.
sometimes you feel like Neo, like coming out of the Matrix into the real world, and a world, like you're seeing the facade for what it is. But one thing, what else did we want to talk about tonight? Because we had some other interesting topics to talk about.
We were talking about Bluey, Zootopia. Well, there was some news a little bit on the corporate side. I don't know how.
Mhm.
I mean, it's news, but it's kind of like not news to us because we discuss this stuff all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But Disney is trying to minimize drama happening with this CEO succession plan, right?
Right.
So they want to make sure they're not going to lose anybody with whoever they pick. So let's just say they pick Josh tomorrow, which is looking like they will. So it'll be Josh, but they don't want to lose Dana Walden. They don't want to lose Alan Bergman either.
Right.
Like if by promoting Josh, typically what happens in these CEO races, what happens is if an executive is passed over, they usually leave the company if they realize they can't move up. So what they're saying is that Disney's going to give the runner-ups concession prizes essentially to keep them on board. So very curious as to how that shakes out. What's your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts is this is the kind of shit that only happens in the Disney company.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
this shit. I really do. I
Like,
really do hate this shit because, like, when you look at their market value, there's no reason for them to have this much drama behind them. Like, I get it, they're the biggest entertainment company in the world, but a lot of it I think might also have to do with, like you said, mitigating um, PR messes, and maybe the shareholders. Maybe the shareholders need to be coaxed into, oh, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. We have all our key players are still going to stick around. We're signing contracts behind the doors. Like, I get it, but I hate this crap, to be honest with you, because it's a detractor away from, like, real stories.
yeah. No, I
This
feel
is
you.
this is backroom drama.
Oh, it's total backroom drama. But Disney has such a history of backroom drama that goes
Yeah.
public. I
Yeah.
mean, every time they switch CEOs, it's drama city almost every single time, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm very curious. I mean, this kind of points in the direction of like because Disney hasn't had the president position in a while.
Hmm.
That was actually the role that Bob Iger had when Michael Eisner was CEO.
Right.
So I have a feeling because of what they're saying here is that they want to keep people, they don't want to lose anybody.
Hmm.
They're probably going to offer either Dana, maybe Alan Bergman, I don't know, like a role like that. Because okay, we're not going to give you the CEO, but we're still going to promote you though. You're going to have more responsibilities. You're going to have a bigger control, and we'll give you the president role or something. They're going to give these executives some concessions, and it also sounds like the fact that we're hearing this kind of talk right now kind of points to the in the direction of, you know what,
They
they
made a
know who it
decision.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
They know.
because you can't be signing concessions or offering concessions and signing contracts if you don't know who the CEO is. And they've already said we're going to have a decision by the end of 2025. We're now at the end of, like, I don't know how much more at the end of 2025 you can get. I mean, we're 20, we're 20
A month
something
out.
days away from January here. So yeah, they have a decision. Who it is, I think it's Josh. I
I do too.
personally think it's Josh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the reason I want it to be Josh too. I think it'll benefit the entertainment division because
Okay.
if they can give Dana Walden more executive power, she brings physical discipline. She brings award-winning shows to the streaming services.
It's true.
She understands how to do high quality under budget and on time. If they extended the animation studio to her and Pixar and Walt Disney Studios, I think that the entertainment division would see more black years year over year versus this hit and miss that we're seeing under Alan Bergman, because Alan Bergman does not know how to he just does not know how to keep movies on budget. And he knows how to deliver them in time. But I mean, let me give you an example. And I know people are going to be, oh, Zootopia has made $540 million. Yeah, but he's also offering the key voice actors of Frozen for Frozen 3 and 4 $60 million each, just to do voice acting.
Well,
Which is
imagine how much money Zootopia would be making for Disney if it only cost $100 million to make, like Super Mario Brothers.
right.
I mean, imagine the profit margin on that bad boy then, you know?
Right.
So
Exactly.
to your point, but go ahead. I'm sorry. But
No,
the Frozen thing is crazy, you know?
well, that's it. I mean, just this is like reckless, and then it's kind of an insult to other voice actors, which Disney's replete with voice actors because they're in the business of making animation. And
Right.
so, like, the other voice actors that work for, I'm probably looking at this. I'm like, you paid me $500,000,
Yeah.
and I was in this multi-million-dollar film, So, these are not. I don't feel like these are good moves, and I think Alan Bergman has the benefit of saying, "Well, I've had success because he's been with the company for 25 years, and he has had a
Yeah.
lot of success. He's turned out some bangers,
Yeah.
but it's time for some new blood, and Dana Walden's going to need a raise."
I think they're going to want to keep Dana. I do. So she's probably going to get, yeah, a raise and something, you know. And to be fair, I mean, Dana, Rupert Murdoch really loves her. And she's not a conservative, she's very progressive and they got along really well. See, and this is the thing with Dana. I feel like Dana there's something going on at Disney, maybe Bob Iger meddling or something that's causing her to sort of fumble more than she typically would. I feel like she was stronger at Fox,
Mm-hmm.
which points to like something going on at Disney. I don't know. I don't know because here's the thing, and this is where we get a little spicy, but it's okay. Bob Iger is a smoozer. He loves his Hollywood friends, and that's fine. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with
Mm-hmm.
that. But I can see him meddling more with her side of stuff because she's more Hollywood studio stuff
Mm-hmm.
than Josh Giamaro. Josh Giamaro is a park
Mm-hmm.
guy. Meryl Streep and the Hollywood folks and they're not really on Demaro's side of the company. They're over here with Dana,
Mm-hmm.
So I can see Bob Iger meddling more with Dana's stuff a lot. And
Yeah.
I think there might, and this is speculation. I want to make it very clear. I'm just speculating. It's I feel like there's been some meddling with Bob and what Dana does, and I think it's been to her detriment because it doesn't really correlate. Like I feel like she was like super savvy and smart over here at Fox, but now she's over here putting out fires like crazy. Like what's going on? Like it's not. Is it?
I agree with
You know?
that. And a lot of them are caused by these big egos. I mean, you got, Jimmy Kimmel, big ego.
Oh,
Bob
yeah.
Iger, obviously big ego.
Huge.
There's a lot of big egos over there on the Hollywood side of the house. Josh D'Amaro doesn't have to deal with. Now, when it comes to, yeah, I agree with you. And it's speculation, but I feel like it's I feel like you wouldn't be wrong if you just said that this is what's happening either,
It's like an educated guess, basically, right?
It
Like,
is. I mean, yes, an educated guess. Like you can just look with your eyes, look at the drama on one side of the aisle, and then you look at the other. You're just like, Bob, are you over here? Like, are you causing troubles for Dana? And I think that, yeah, I think that's what's going on. Bob, it seems like he's always outsourced his expertise to his wonderful Imagineers, whereas he's always been involved on the linear aspect. And
yeah.
I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, the fact that they're not even talking about spinning off linear assets yet, while every other major studio is, I think that's a Bob Iger thing.
Oh, 100%. Because where did how did Bob Iger get involved with Disney in the first place?
Right.
Well, through the
ABC.
acquisition of Cap Cities ABC.
That's
He
right.
was he was a weatherman and he works his way up, which is cool. That's fine. But an emotional, he has like an attachment to this linear world,
Right.
and that's what they're clinging to. And I think that's not a coincidence. And I get it from
Mhm.
his perspective. I understand that. That's like his roots. That's where he came from. But see, that's why I think someone who's a little bit younger, like a Josh Jamar or something, they might be able to kind of like I think they're gonna be more willing to kind of cut the cord
I,
than Bob.
yeah, no, 100%. Like, dude, they need somebody that's going to come in and blowtorch linear.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
literally just come in and blowtorch it. Like, relationships be damned. We're cutting the fat. We're going to become a leaner company. This is a loss leader where, I mean, the ad revenue, what, drops like 20% every year, year over year. So it's hemorrhaging money. It's a melting iceberg. They need somebody to come in like an outside consultant, but that's the CEO, and just blowtorch the whole fucking thing.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree.
I don't think Dana Walden's going to have the gusto to do that. I mean, she's also been in television, Hollywood media
It's true.
for 20 plus years. And like who knows who could convince her not to do otherwise. Josh, yeah, he knows people in Hollywood, but he ain't, he's not Hollywood blood, so he can come in just
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a fantastic point. And one of my biggest concerns about Josh, but I'm gonna be fair here to him because one of my biggest issues with him, or not issues but concerns, is that he's not a studio person, right? And the
Mhm,
studio stuff is going through a seismic shift with like AI and streaming and all that stuff. So for
mhm.
me, it's like, oh man, it's risky. Like we have this guy coming in here, he's not a Hollywood guy, and there's all this change happening in the Hollywood landscape. But to be fair to Josh, though, Michael Eisner was not a theme park guy. He came from
Right.
Paramount. Frank Wells came from Warner Brothers. They don't really have parks. They came in and they hit home runs with those theme parks. We got Indiana Jones, all these amazing things from Michael Eisner, and he wasn't a park guy. So in reverse, to be fair to Josh, he's not a studio guy, but he might come in and he might do better with the studio than the studio guys. I mean,
Hey,
we
man,
just don't know. I mean,
a
that's the
good,
thing.
agreed. And a good leader knows how to export responsibility to their experts, right? Michael Eisner had, I mean, dude, he had some of the most iconic Imagineers at the time working for him, right? So, um, all that park stuff, he was just like, look, guys, here's the mandate. He gave them a blueprint, an idea. But when it came to all the details, when it came to the Imagineering, I mean, he was pretty hands off. He let them do whatever they wanted to. The animatronics initiative under the Bruce Vaughn was a part of back in the 90s and early 2000s, where they were creating all these crazy ideas that actually came to fruition. A lot of really good ones. I mean, you had Turtle Talk with Crush came out of that. Um, you had some of the walking animatronics that were popular, like that walking dinosaur in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Vaughn is breathing. I think they're reintroducing that book. They're visiting that era of Disney now because he was a part of it back in the early 2000s, late 90s, and now he's the chief creative officer and president of Imagineering. So they have the technology now, and they're implementing a lot of these good ideas that they didn't have the technology for 20, 25 years ago. But going back to my point, a good leader can say to someone, say, hey, you know what, you're the subject matter expert on this. Here's our mission. Let's have a meeting in, a couple of weeks and we're going to talk about this. But you're going to be in charge of it. So he doesn't have to be a Hollywood expert. He just has to have a vision, and he has to have people that are going to execute that vision.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, exactly. There's that business intelligence where or leadership intelligence where he knows who to go to or who to give the reins to, who to delegate to. He knows he has that the know-how to sort of know when to back off, when to insert himself. And it seems like he knows how to do that because I haven't heard anything negative about him, like in terms of like the people that work with him. Like I
Hmm.
haven't heard, when it came to Chapek and stuff, you heard all these horror stories. He was coming
Right.
in the room with like stupid ideas, and he was making all these plans, like all, and you don't really hear that about Tomorrow. Like I mean, every
Yeah.
cast member, every person I've ever heard that's ever had any kind of interaction or business, whatever with him, they always seem to walk away like, hey, you know what, I really like that guy. He's easy to work
Yeah.
with. Even our good friend Alia, she got to meet him once when she came down here. She did like the Adventures by Disney thing, and she
Right.
was really impressed by him. And she has been very critical too of him. But when she met him,
Right.
she was like, yeah, you know what? Actually, he comes off like a decent dude. So we'll see how it is. It's interesting. Maybe the announcement's coming soon. I mean, if we're hearing tidbits like this about, they want to keep certain people and they're signing contracts, I don't know. I think probably in a month or two, we'll probably know for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hope by the beginning of the year we get an announcement. But I did want to ask you a question. Going back to animals, I did want to ask you a
Yeah.
question because we haven't had a conversation about this yet.
Yeah.
But you've obviously seen the trailer for Choppers.
Yes.
All right. So what do you think? What do you think Pixar's? Do you think this is going to be a winner for Pixar? They need a win. They need a
They
big
need a
win.
they need a win. Is this one going to do it? It's a weird premise, right? Um, People going into animal bodies, I guess, is the
Hmm.
premise here. Here's the thing: when it comes to Pixar, I think one of the biggest successes. I think I talked about this with Jay once, but like one of the biggest successes for Pixar is it's that curiosity factor and the simplicity of it. Where it's like everyone always wondered, like, hey, what happens with my toys when I'm not in the room?
Right.
And Pixar answered that question. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Dive into the world of like what it is to be an ant, or like, these very simplistic sort of like, concepts. I think with Hoppers, it's kind of getting into this complex like gobbledygook now, where it's like, oh, we're gonna human beings are gonna insert themselves into like what, like robotic animals or something weird like that. It
Hmm.
just it's this weird like sort of concept that I think that it's just too much explaining. I don't know. I kind of have a feeling, Slammer. I think this is gonna be like another Elio or something like that. I think it's gonna be one of those movies where I just feel like it's gonna probably underperform. And I hope I'm wrong because I love Pete Docter. I mean, when we were at what's it called? A D23, man. I mean, there were so many panels. He was like on every panel. But he's a great dude and he's really smart. I love him running the studio and I'm rooting for it.
Hmm.
But this movie, man, I don't know. I think when it comes to the storytelling for Pixar, they need to keep it a little bit more on the simple side and a little more digestible. And I think this one's a weird concept, but I could be wrong. Hey, look, to be completely fair, an elderly man going on an adventure in a flying house with a little Boy Scout is a weird concept too. And that movie
Right.
crushed it, right? So who am I to judge? This movie might do great, but I don't know. We'll see. What do you think?
I think it looks good. It's one of the more appealing trailers for a Pixar movie that I've seen in probably since Elemental. I mean, which wasn't that long ago, but when you consider how many movies have come out since, yeah, this is one of the more appealing ones for me. I hope it does well. I
Me too.
really, yeah, I really think that Pixar does need a win because one, Pete Docter's job is on the line, and a lot of other employees' jobs are on the line over at Pixar. Unfortunately, that's the animation studio that whenever it doesn't do well, they cut jobs. Like they have no problem getting rid of talent at Pixar. So I know a lot of people, their careers are riding on this one doing well. Um, but it's one of those things, OG, where like if it doesn't, maybe that's going to be the straw that breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back in order for them to make the necessary changes so that they can be profitable every year, not just every other year or every now and then, but so every movie that comes out is a money making movie for the studio. Because the last thing I want them to do is rely on another Toy Story movie in order for the studio to have any recognition. I do think you made a really valid point, which is that under what's his name? The other guy.
Lasseter, P Doctor.
Yeah, Lasseter, John Lasseter. Under Lasseter, they took like a childlike inquiry and answered that question. Like that was like the premise of how they got to the plot of the film. And Pete Docter is a lot more sci-fi, which is okay. But I think in that process, it requires more. I don't know, man. Like it's harder to relate to if you have to explain it a little bit more,
Right.
or if you're not taking like a very natural approach. The brilliant thing about taking a childlike inquiry and then answering that question is that everybody growing up has probably had that question at one point or another.
Right. Exactly. Well,
Whereas
it's
when you're
like
taking a
well, it's like you and I. We love talking about like the universe and stuff. We've done videos on that, right? Like
right, yeah,
aliens and that taps into the core like need to like know more about where we came from as human beings and humanity and what have you. It's like hardwired into us. Some of this stuff, you know.
that's exactly it. Yeah. So, I can say to you, for example, hey, remember when we were kids and we used to think that when we closed the door and shut off the lights that the toys would talk to you? Oh, yeah, I remember that. But then Pete
Exactly.
Doctor says, well, have you ever wondered what it's like to have your mind inside of a beaver? And you go, and OG looks at me and goes, what? And
Yeah.
then I go, well, hear me out. You got to hear this. And then it's a good story, but like it requires some sort of explanation. I feel like that's the difference between old Pixar and new
Yeah.
Pixar.
100%. 100%. You know, there was power in that simplicity. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the hurdle here with this one, but we'll see. I like you. I'm rooting for it. I love Pixar. I think it's a beautiful studio. But is that one movie? Got was it Gatto about the little Italian cat? That's Pixar too, I believe, right?
Hmm.
The little okay, that one looks interesting. I'm
I
I'm
think
actually very
so.
curious about that one because that one's I think that one's hand drawn if I'm not mistaken, or partly hand drawn, maybe hybrid.
I think so. Let me see. So it's going to be both. It's going to be an animated film produced by both Pixar Animation and Walt Disney Pictures.
Cool, cool.
So it's a
Yeah,
collab. When was the
that
last time
one.
there was a collab?
I don't know. That's interesting.
That'd be
That's
cool.
interesting, but I don't know. That one seems cute. That one seems really cute.
They're swinging for the fences for original ideas, man. People just got to show up for them. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they're doing it. We'll see. One thing I want to actually ask you though before we go, we saw that little animatronic Olaf,
Okay.
right? They're bringing like you were saying, you mentioned it earlier with Lucky the dinosaur that they used to have. You know
Right.
that
Lucky the dinosaur.
roam,
Yep. Hmm.
yeah, that roaming character initiative. They're bringing that back. Like, do you see a day where like some of the walk around characters are replaced and they're like, for example, I mean, it's kind of weird, right, to have like a 6 foot Olaf walking around with a dude in a costume. Like in the movie, the character is only this big. So it's
Right.
like, is Disney gonna opt for more of these like living character animatronics for some of these things and opt out of a human being cast member walking around? Do you think this is the future of like meet and greets in a way?
I think yes and no. I think that they're certainly going to be looking to animatronics, these new AI animatronics, right? So like these automatons, not the ones that are on Pirates of the Caribbean, but I think they're going to be looking to these for the more fantastical characters, the ones that people can't simply slip into a costume in and boom, there's that character, right? So
Right.
like Olaf, for example, or R2D2, right? Although you could do it with a person, but it's probably considered abuse at this point. But um, but yeah, I mean, I think they're going to do it with more fantastical characters, which is great, right? I
Yeah.
think I'm 100% off for that. I think I don't think it's a moral line, but I think it's a practical line. Can you imagine you're hugging Mickey Mouse and his battery dies and he just kind of goes, do 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 do, right? That's going to be a nightmare for a kid meeting Mickey Mouse for the first time. So I think they're going to keep the human element with the Fab Five, the princesses,
Yeah.
Gaston, your humanoid characters. I think they're going to stay played by cast members.
Yeah.
Everything else is game, and I think that the more Bruce Vaughn leans into this, I think it's great. I think that as long as they have reliable, cost effective um, animatronics that require very little maintenance, that they can run in the parks for the majority of the time that the park is open. And that all that to me does is enhance my experience. I mean, if I'm coming with my daughters and they see Olaf and that puts a smile on their face, then that animatronic did its job. Where no animatronic being there wouldn't have, created that same magical experience. So I think
Yeah.
it's important they lean into this. And I think that we're going to see a lot of this even more so implemented with, I mean, obviously with Frozen, but now you're going to have uh, that villain land where and not just villain, but
Oh.
cars. I think you're going to see that implemented even to the next level.
Oh yeah, Villain's Land. You got a lot of potential with that technology. A lot of potential. I never thought about that. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that. But I agree with you. I think characters like Mickey and Minnie, it's always gonna be a person because people want to walk up and give them a big hug and all that stuff. And maybe
And
they'll
a
maybe
human touch for that hug.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think like maybe they'll have like a Mickey and Minnie animatronic for like a stage show thing or something. But for the meet and greet stuff where your kid walks up and meets the characters, Mickey and Minnie I think will always be a human being. But you're right. I mean, and also this brings in like a lot of potential for like things like Galaxy's Edge, like you were saying R2. But I mean, with that world, everything being so fantastical and all that, like you can really get into this living character initiative with an area like Galaxy's Edge and actually make the land what they promised us, in 2019, so
And Bruce Vaughn is willing to do it. Again, he was part of that, that Living Animatronic initiative, and he's bringing it back because they have the tech now, and they can do it at a much lower cost. So yeah, I mean, and I think also, to be honest, when they had this idea of having roaming characters, in Galaxy's Edge, I mean, what was this, 2016, 2017 when that land opened,
yeah.
2019?
It opened in
Um,
2019. It was announced like in 2015, I think.
Yeah, 2019. They didn't have the animatronic technology that they have now. I mean, we've made leaps and bounds the last 5 to 7 years when it comes to these automated robots. And so we're just now getting to the point, even though we've been thinking about this since Lost in Space in the 1950s and 1960s, we're just now getting to the point where we can manufacture these things at a cost that is reasonable, that you don't have to justify to the board as to why we need to spend billions and billions of dollars into these things, put them in the parks, have them run all day, hook them up to a battery charger, and then send them out in the parks the next day and not have to worry about any sort of like safety issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Well
So
said.
yeah, I think you're going to see these breathe in a lot of life, not just into the new lands like the frozen lands, but I think you're going to see them visit Galaxy's Edge, and who knows, you might see them walking around Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I do want to give a shout out to Universal because I haven't seen it in person, but I'm hearing the AAs in Monsters Unchained are incredible.
Oh yeah, dude, when you see them, you're like, it's jaw dropping. I mean, when Frankenstein comes out the first time, you're just like, oh, like what?
That's
And then
crazy,
throughout the
dude.
ride, like they don't even cheap him throughout the ride. The Frankenstein animatronic they have in the front, he's just as good as throughout the ride. In fact, I think there were a couple people like on videos where I was like, is that real? Like, was that a real person? It's like, nah, that's an animatronic, man.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. I love what Universal's doing right now. I'm really proud of Universal. They're doing some great stuff, man. And they've been testing our Fast and Furious roller coaster out here, which looks bonkers, dude.
I've been watching it. I've been watching it. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's
The way
wild. But
the way it goes over and around the escalator, it's just wild.
yeah, and then the cars like they kind of like they drift as they go and stuff, man. This thing is gonna be like for thrill enthusiasts, coaster people, bro, insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
So basically, it's gonna be your favorite ride, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can find me in the gift shop watching my favorite ride from the gift shop,
Exactly.
Me and Theme Park Wizard. Big shout out to him, by the way. He's a great kid. We love Wizard, man. He's cool. But Slimer, I do appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. We got a episode of theme parking tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to. It'd be a fun one. But yeah, if you want to remind everybody where they can find you on social media, sir.
OG, thanks so much for having me back on. I really appreciate it. Great discussion with you here. You can find me on all social medias at Slime Square or Slime Square 84.
There he is. And thank you so much for watching this episode of OG55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Zootopia, Animal Kingdom, Josh Giamaro, the CO race, all that good stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, see you.
Thank you so much for watching OG55. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and become a member today.